Welcome. This week we're going to learn Parshas Behaaloscha. A little bit of it. So there's a Parsha of Pesach Sheni that if somebody's tamei and he can't bring the korban pesach, you bring it a month later. Where's this Parsha? Sometimes I ask people, where's the Parsha of Pesach Sheni? And most people will say it's in Parshas Boy. With the Parsha of Pesach Sheni, that's where it is. And the Parsha of Pesach. So it tells you what to do with a Pesach and what happens if you're tamei, then you should bring it a month later. But some people who are a little bit more knowledgeable in the Parshas, they say it's in Behaaloscha. That's really where it is. So it says like this. Vayomru anoshim ahema. Vayanoshim asher yitmeim lenefesh adam. There were some people that were tamei nefesh adam. Why were they tamei nefesh adam? So there's two pshatim. Either they were tamei because there was a meis mitzvah, or they were tamei because they were carrying Yosef's aron. But they were tamei. And they couldn't make the Pesach. They said, why should we be worse to be makriv the korban b'soich b'nei Yisrael? This is what they said to him. So the question is, Mefarshim ask, that what's the time of Lo Manigora? There's a Isaac mitzvah, Patam mitzvah. They were doing chashiva things, and every time Isaac mitzvah, Patam mitzvah is going to come back and say, okay, I didn't do the mitzvah, so I'm missing the mitzvah. How am I going to make up the mitzvah? You don't have to make up the mitzvah. Isaac mitzvah, Patam mitzvah. You are potters, so what's the problem? Why are they coming with a complaint? This is the question. Lo Manigora. Also, the Lashon Lo Manigora. What does Nigora mean? Why are we worse? Why are we worse? So I just want to explain this with something we spoke about in Parshas Yisrael. I'm not going to go back into the whole thing again, but at the side of our emunah, we have two things that we believe. We believe in the Rabbeinu Shalom and Brias Ha'olam, and we also believe in Torah Mesinai. And how do we believe in Torah Mesinai? What is the real basis for our belief in Torah Mesinai? So I spoke about this at length in Parshas Yisrael. If anyone wants to go back and take a look, indestructible memories. That it all comes from memory. That ein hatzibur meisem. That the tzibur always exists, and the tzibur remembers. So when we plug into the memory, the living memory of the tzibur, and the tzibur always remembers Matan Torah. That's something that we remember. Just like the tzibur has obligations, the tzibur has privileges, the tzibur has punishments. We know the egel. What do we have to do with the egel? No, the tzibur was chayte, and therefore, if we're part of the tzibur, we still have to pay for the chet egel. So there is more and more after Zvav. The Ein Tzibur Meisem. So the Ein Tzibur Meisem also applies to its memory. The Tzibur remembers Matan Torah. Our Tzibur today is the same Tzibur that stood at Har Sinai. The body of Klal Yisrael is the same. Each of us are cells on that body. So the cells come, the cells go, and you have new cells and old cells go away, new cells come, but the body is always the same. And the Tzibur has a memory, and that memory lives. And how does it live? It's reinforced constantly through. I spoke about how come there are so many mitzvahs that relate to Yetzias Mitzrayim, and there's only one mitzvah that relates to Matan Torah. That we don't build that memory on Matan Torah because Matan Torah was a nevuah, was Gilui Shechina. We build our memory on Yetzias Mitzrayim. So we remember it, and the Iker Tziner of the memory of Klal Yisrael, of Matan Torah, is the Pesach. The korban Pesach, the Seder, the Haggadah, the mitzvahs, the whole Pesach set of rituals, that is the main tziner by which we keep the memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah alive. So this is what they were saying. True Isaac mitzvah patna mitzvah. So we're not going to get the schar of the mitzvah of korban pesach because we had a different mitzvah, so we don't have to do that mitzvah. We're potter. But lama nigora, why in our family should the memory be weaker than pesach b'nei Yisrael? Why in our family should the memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim be weakened because we skipped a year? That's what they're saying. So that's why the Rebbeinu Shalom told them there'll be korban pesach. So why is it in Behaaloscha? Why wasn't this given in Bai? So because they were zoicha, because they said lo manigora, and they understood the chashivas of the inyan of Pesach. So that this happened now with these people. So because they were zoicha, that the mitzvah of korban Pesach Sheni was given through them. But that's what lo manigora is. It's not why, because we lost the schar of a mitzvah, because Isaac mitzvah, potar mitzvah. That's the way it is, You're collecting mitzvahs, do a different mitzvah, don't worry about it. No, it's because the memory in their family will be weakened. Okay. Now we come to the Misawim. They wanted meat. They said, like this: Mi yachaleinu basar, zacharnu adoga shenoichel Mitzrayim. We're tired of this man. We want meat. Who's going to give us meat? This is what they said. So the Rebbeinu Shalom said, "Iskachu l'mocher v'chaltem basar." You're going to eat meat. I'm going to give you meat. So Moshe Rabbeinu says like this. The Yomer Moshe, he said, "Sheish meis elef ragli yom shanoichi b'kirbai." These people, v'atom marta basar etin lehem v'achlu chodesh yomim. I'm going to have meat for them, and they're going to eat it for a month. Hatzoy nebuka yishachat lehem amatzal lehem. Am I going to find enough tzoy nebuka to shech and to feed them? So this is a pliya. The Rechaim asks. He says, there says billions. I don't know how many people there were in the Rechaim's time, but there's so many people in the world, and they all eat fish every day, and they all eat meat. There's plenty of meat in the world to feed people. Why would there not be enough meat? What's he saying? Is there no meat to feed the people? You feed the people with meat. What's the problem? What's he saying? So Rabbi Shalom says to him, Hayad Hashem tiktzar. You think I can't do this? Now you're going to see, if I said I'm going to give them meat, that's going to work. So Moshe Shalom said, I'll give them meat. And Moshe says, where are you going to get all these meat? And the Rabbi Shalom says, I told you I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. What is going on here? And what does it say at the end? Habasar edeno ben shinayim, terem yikores. The meat is in their mouth before they bit into it, before they chewed it. They died right there. They took the meat into their mouth, and before they had a chance to really eat it, they died. What was that? So I think Pshat is like this. Let's say a person is in a faraway place, he has nothing to eat, and he's thinking to himself, I wish I was back home because I would have a really good juicy steak. I'd have this, and he's dreaming about, I'm going to get home, I'm going to have this steak, or a person's in prison, or wherever, I'm going to get out, I'm going to have this steak. Like, that steak, in his mind, assumes tremendous proportions. It's like beyond steak. That steak is he has such a taiva for it and such a cheshek for it, that the steak that he builds up in his imagination, that steak doesn't exist. He's anticipating he's going to eat that steak, it's going to be so fantastic. But when he actually gets the steak and he eats it, it will be a letdown. It's not going to be, okay, it's good steak, very nice, great steak, fantastic, very expensive, but is it going to be the steak that he had in his mind? It's not going to be. It's not going to be that. It's going to be what he built up in his mind is not the steak that he's going to eat. So this is what Moshe was saying. He says, the people, they are so starving for a piece of meat. They're so focused on it and saying, we want meat, we don't have meat. The meat that they want, that they've built up in their minds, you're not going to be able to give them that meat. It's not going to be their meat. The meat that they're begging for, that they've created in their imagination, in their taiva, that the meat that they've created, that they're thinking about, it doesn't exist. You can shecht all the time in Bakar. You're not going to find such meat. How are you going to give them what they're asking for? So Rabbi Shalom said, Ato Sira, Ayad Hashem Tiktzor, you think I can't do this? You're going to see. I'm going to give them what they want. So what did he do? Because as soon as they took the meat into their mouth, before they chewed it, that meat was still the imaginary meat. When they chewed it, they would have the disappointment. So he gave them their imaginary meat, and he killed them. So they never had the disappointment. So they got what they were wishing for. But lemaisa, they did, and as soon as they put it in their mouth, it was still connected to the meat that they had in their mind and their imagination, and that was it. Right away they died, so they never had the disappointment. So he never disappointed them. He gave them what they wanted. Now, at the end of the Parsha, we come to the story of Miriam. So, Miriam talked Lashon Hara, and she was stricken with saras. Then the pasuk says that Aaron asked Moshe that he should do something. He should do something. She shouldn't be kameis shabbatseser rachamimai v'yachol chatzi b'saroi. So the pasuk says, "Vayitzak Moshe el Hashem." Moshe davened, and he said, "Keil no rifon no la." So I actually mentioned this in connection with something else, but I think it's kedai to repeat it over here. I mentioned it back in Beshalach, where there's also Lama Titzak Alai, so there's a certain parallel. So he says, Keil no rifon no la. He said 5 words. Hashem, please heal her. So Rashi says, Rifon no la, why didn't he daven a longer tefillah? A very quick tefillah, 5 words, that was it. Why didn't he say a longer tefillah? So he says, why? Shlo yiu Yisrael oimrim hachaysa yomedes b'tzora. His sister is in trouble. V'hu oimed amarba b'tefillah, and he's davening along Shmoneh Esrei. He's davening along Shmoneh Esrei. Therefore, he said a quick tefillah. What's the pshat of that? Should he have said the tefillah? Should he have not said a quick tefillah? Apparently, he should have said a long tefillah. But why didn't he? Because people are going to say, why is he davening a long tefillah? What should he do? I mean, isn't a long tefillah better than a short tefillah? You daven a lot, you daven. So it better than just daven, A long tefillah is, you would think the long tefillah is better. You see the Rebbe standing along Shmoneh Esrei. Oh, he's the one that I have to go to. If the Rebbe finishes chik-chak, you're not going to be so quick to go to him. So what's going on over here? So I once said almost like this, that what is a long tefillah? A person davens a long tefillah. What is he doing in a long tefillah? Is he really have to explain to Rebbeinu Shalom what he wants? He wants to make sure the Rebbeinu Shalom understands what he wants. I'm going to explain it to you, this, that, and I'm going to pester you and this. That's not what a long tefillah is. A long tefillah is that a person, when he davens, his tefillah is more effective the closer he is to Rebbeinu Shalom. When a person comes closer to Rebbeinu Shalom, the tefillah is better. So a person is davening, so he wants to draw himself closer to Rebbeinu Shalom. When you're davening Rufa'enu, let's say, so you could just say, Rufa'enu, give me a refuah. So The long tefillah is not, it's a problem, the doctor, there's no, Rebbeinu Shalom knows all of that. It's nothing, no information you're giving to Rebbeinu Shalom that he doesn't have. What it is, you're drawing yourself closer, you're understanding that all refuahs are biyad Hashem, everything is the Rebbeinu Shalom, and he's a chacham, and all these things are, you're drawing yourself closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And when you ask for the refuah, the tefillah is coming from a closer place, and that makes it a better tefillah. That's what it is. So of course Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be a daven along tefillah. Why? Because he wants to come from a closer place. He wants the tefillah to be more effective. However, Moshe Rabbeinu was Anav Mikol Adam. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't mean that he didn't realize who he was. Didn't mean that he realized that he was bigger than everybody else. But because he reached such a high level, he was able to understand the distance that there is from him to the Rebbeinu Shalom. He saw it as a greater distance. Because of his greater Maila, he saw the distance as being a greater distance. So therefore, he felt smaller. Other people that don't understand the distance from them to the Rebbeinu Shalom do not necessarily feel so small. But Moshe Rabbeinu understood it. He felt smaller than everybody else. So his Anav Mikol Adam was not a paradox. It came because he was so great, because he was such a big Navi, because he was such a big tzaddik, and he had asagas. His asagas were tremendous, so he was makir his katnas more than other people are makir their katnas. So Moshe Rabbeinu understood that he is infinitely distant from the Rebbeinu Shalom, and he wanted to daven the long tefillah that will bring him closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom, his tefillah would be more effective. But the people, when they saw Moshe Rabbeinu who spoke to the Rebbeinu Shalom, peh al peh, nemam b'chol beisai, the people thought, you cannot get any closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. How could you get closer to Rebbeinu Shalom than Moshe? That's the tachlis of Skarvas, Moshe. So if you're already so close and you're standing there right next to Rebbeinu Shalom, the tachlis akurva, the tachlis of Skarvas, you're right there. So daven right away. What are you waiting for? Why do you have to be marach b'tfilah? So that's what they would say. So therefore Moshe wasn't marach b'tfilah. But Mitzad himself, he understood that despite of who he was and how close he was, and the level of his nevuah, and the level of his sitkas, he understood that there's plenty of his karvas, plenty of distance to cover, and he really should have davened a longer tefillah to bring himself closer. But he didn't, and he said, Keil Nora Falnullah. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again next week.